Hello everyone on YouTube, it's time for another video. Except this time it is another record player video. But I'm not going to play any records. I am going to do another record player comparison. But what I'm going to compare it to now is this. And what I mean by this. So it's going to be a record player video and a violin video in one. So in this video we're going to talk about needle tracking versus string bowing. And I will go ahead and pause this video so we will actually get it started. Alright, here we are with a record on the record player. I went ahead and put the cyan record on. So we have the red one. It's the red record player. It's one of the red records, and it has the cyan on it. So we're going to use that record. Now what I want to talk to y'all about is needle tracking versus record playing. Well, versus playing a violin. So let's go ahead and start with the violin first. Go ahead and set this down. So on a violin, now honestly, a record player and a violin both run on friction. That is the force that they use. Because on a record player, the needle slides around in the groove while the record is spinning in it, and it picks up the vibrations, and the tone arm vibrates, and the needle picks up the vibrations of the tone arm, then transmits it through the speaker. That's just the same thing with the violin. You put the bow on the string, pull the bow across, string vibrates, and therefore it gets picked up by the sound holes, and therefore that transmits the sound. So that is pretty much the same principle as playing a record versus playing a violin. They both use friction, but the needle tracks a record, and the bow is kind of like the needle for a violin, but instead of just being a normal stylus, it's rows of horsehairs rubbing against the string and therefore making that sound. And that is how you do it on a violin. Now, over to the record player. Same principle, but different. It involves a spinning turntable, but it's the same principle. But in this case, instead of using a bow, well, it's kind of like you're lifting the bow on the strings for a violin. You lift this needle up, this tone arm, and then you move that tone arm, position it, just like you position the bow on a violin. You position your tone arm, and then, like when you drop the bow on the string, go ahead and just drop your tone arm, drop your needle on that record, and then the record should play. Just like the bow on the strings of a violin, your record player is going to work just like that. And so, this is how it works. And so, just like playing a violin on a record, instead of using a bow, you're using a needle or a stylus, and that stylus is going to drop down onto this groove. And let me zoom in, let me get in closer so y'all can see it. That stylus, when I pull this lever, is going to drop on that record, and that's what's going to play the record. So y'all will be able to see that, so I'm going to go ahead and drop it. And you can see the turntable spinning. And there's how you play a record. Just like playing a violin. it picks up the vibrations of the needle, drops it onto and then it plays it through the turntable and then through the speakers. Just like when you bow the strings on a violin, it amplifies it through the sound holes, and there it gets picked up, and then that's how you play a violin. So there's the direct comparison. Well, similarities between a violin and a record player, but also a comparison, because one is different, because one, you're placing a needle on a record, and then you're also placing the bow on the strings. So thanks for watching, and more to come later.